2 bamboo tents, 7 tires in the ground, and some tables and benches. That's all there is in this field at Awaji Kids Garden. What would you do if you were here? How would you have fun? A lot of small children who come here for the first time don't know what to do or how to have fun. This 3-year-old girl was just such a child when she first came here. When she arrived at the field, she stood there, looked around, then sat quietly down. After a long while, she asked, "What should I do?" The staff invited her to some activities, and after they were done, she sat back down. After another long while, she asked, "What should I do next?" This went on for the whole 5-hour day, in fact, for several weeks afterwards. I am disheartened every time I see this, to see children who don't know how to have fun, who need to be told how to play. It's true that there are no playhouses, dolls, or playground sets in this field, or any teachers telling them to play this game or that. But there's such rich, abundant nature. There are trees and leaves, flowers and stones, a big field to run in, and a mountain to climb. Now let's imagine. A 3-year-old boy runs into the field, immediately climbs up a tree and shouts, "This is my pirate ship. I'm going to sail around the world." A little ways off, a group of children sit down and are instantly absorbed in the fine cuisine of dandelions and shiny pebbles. A toddler wobbles about, focusing hard on walking on this uneven, weedy ground, picking up acorns along the way and just enjoying exploring everything around her. This is also a regular scene here. So, what is the difference? Why is it that some kids sit and wait to be told what to do, dependent on other people to tell them how to have fun, while others are constantly creating their own fun? What is the secret to having the ability to make yourself happy? I believe self-motivation is the essential element. Last winter, there was one really cold day and about a dozen children came. Some kids put on fluffy sweaters and jackets and went straight into the field. Some others shouted, "Let's run to warm up our bodies." A few kids, though, were shivering. They hadn't put their jackets on after getting off the warm bus. They were just standing there in the middle of the field, freezing. The staff said to them, "It's really cold." "Yes," they answered. "What do you want to do about it?" "I don't know," they all said. "Putting on your jackets might warm you up." No response. "Would you like to put your jackets on?" "I don't know." We were so afraid that these kids would catch a cold. They were shivering uncontrollably. Finally, we told them, "Please put your jackets on." And they did. Problem solved. These children were 4, 5, and 6 years old, old enough to be able to put jackets on themselves, yet they were just standing there not doing anything. It was too cold to play, but they also could not put their jackets on without being told to do so. Why? A similar episode can be seen on rainy days. Some kids put on their rain gear with the first drops of rain. Some others, especially in warm weather, choose to enjoy getting wet. There are children, though, who stand in the rain, being uncomfortable and unhappy about getting wet, but not doing anything about it, not until they're told to put on their rain gear or to go under a roof. This ability to initiate action, to have the self-motivation to make herself or himself comfortable and happy, is even more apparent in the way they play. For example, the 2-year-old boy who wanted to climb the mountain. The first time he tried, he climbed up about 2 steps and fell down. It's quite a challenging task for a child this age, and a lot of kids start crying from frustration or just give up. But because this boy really wanted to do it, he had the strong self-motivation, he kept going. He tried again and again with such intense concentration, and afterwards, a big smile. I did it! The sense of satisfaction was radiating from him. Or something as mundane as digging sand can be an indication of self-motivation too. A few months ago, a 5-year-old boy came and said, I'm going to dig a hole and find dinosaur bones. So he got a shovel and started digging. Some other children wanted to join in too, but there was only one shovel in the field that day, so the boy gave them bamboo sticks and long sturdy twigs, and they all started digging. As you may know, the ground is not the same all around. On the surface is the soft, dry sand. Then there's a wet layer, mud, that is still fairly easy to dig. Then in this particular field is a layer of gravel with lots of stones that makes it really difficult to dig through, but the children kept going and reached a layer of clay, firm and sticky. So after digging through all these layers, what did the children find? No dinosaur bones. But water came out. It's probably the water from the nearby stream. But anyways, water came out from the bottom of the hole, and they were so excited. Look, we dug a hole, and there's water. We made a well. Now, if a staff had told them, today we will dig to make a well, do you think the children would have had so much curiosity? Would they have had so much joy and the focus that propelled them for 2 whole hours? Would they have had such a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment? Or would it have ended up with, teacher, here, we dug a well. Are you happy now? One word, self-motivation. A world of difference in how children feel. So, self-motivation is important. But there's also another element that I want to point out. As mentioned earlier, the boy had to dig through several different layers of soil. The sand, then mud, gravel, and clay. For each of these layers, the boy had to be creative and figure out different ways to use the shovel. There were also friends who wanted to join him in this digging fun, but there was only one shovel. So what did he do? What would you do? Take turns? Flip coins? Maybe give up. Since everyone wanted to dig at the same time, any of those choices would have caused some kind of unhappiness to those who didn't get a turn. But here was the creative solution. The boy gave them bamboo sticks and long twigs to use as shovels, and everyone was happy to dig together. Creativity. This is the ability to be innovative, to have a flexible mindset, to think outside the box. It's the ability to think, if everyone wants to dig at the same time, but there is only one shovel, how can we all be happy? It's the ability to figure out, if I want to play with Emily, the English-speaking staff, but she speaks only English and I don't, how can I communicate my thoughts to her? A 4-year-old girl came to Emily with a bamboo cup in hand and said, look, juice, flour, sand, water, mix, 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 yummy. Was that a correct and complete English sentence? No. Did it communicate what the girl wanted to say? Probably yes. Did it make both of them happy? Oh yes, isn't this the interaction that we all aim for? The heart-to-heart connection that goes beyond the language limitations. I personally have traveled extensively to different countries in my previous work as a concert flutist and had a chance to work with people from around the world who spoke languages that I didn't. But we got along. We used what little English we knew and some any other languages that we had in common, along with gestures and drawings, and somehow we got our thoughts across. We worked together, we had meals together, we even went out in the evenings too. We didn't have perfect English or any languages in question. We just came up with figurative ways, creative ways to get to our goal to communicate because we wanted to. We had the self-motivation. I think, though, we've also all had times when it was difficult to just conjure up motivation and creativity. After all, they don't just magically pop up every time we need them. I believe it is a skill that is practiced and improved upon, and that it starts in early childhood. That's why I believe in the International Forest Preschool environment where children spend all day outdoors, rain or shine, exploring nature and English, because nature provides the ideal environment for nurturing self-motivation and creativity. Nature. There are no two things in nature that are identical. Each leaf looks and feels different. Every step you take feels different because of how the soil is or how the leaves are spread out on the ground. There's wind constantly brushing against your cheeks. The bird songs and insect chirps make a constantly varying background music. All these stimuli to the five senses, the tactile, visual, auditory, gustatory, and olfactory, all these senses from nature, all the stimuli from nature are ideal for a child's healthy development. While the boy was climbing the mountain, he was feeling the different surfaces of the ground, the soil, mud, leaves, or how strong the branches and roots were. He was listening to the insects scurrying about and also to the noises his footsteps were making, all while smelling the forest around him. While these elements stimulated his senses, though, they also allowed, or more so required, constant adjustment. The way he placed his foot on muddy soil was different from the next one he took onto a pile of dry leaves and then onto a mound of tangled tree roots. Every step had to be different, and that takes inner desire and creative thinking. Or the dinosaur bones excavation project. These children were really using their physique, the muscle power, control, stamina at the maximum level. Remember, they were at this for a couple of hours. All five senses were really being put to use. But at the same time, they were also learning about the different layers of the soil or how to adjust their digging techniques so that it's most effective for each of the layers, or how to work together with other people and solve problems. This brings us to the third underlying element, the underlying thread to the two main qualities, and that is the children's ability to develop themselves. They do not need to be taught. They do not need to be told what to do. When they're given the room to follow their self-motivation and creativity in a nurturing environment like nature, they can develop themselves. Nature provides the opportunities to think, to figure out, to create from their own motivation. When children are given room to climb the mountain or to dig at their own will, their growth is astounding. That's why I founded the International Forest Preschool here in the nature-rich Awaji Mountains. But it doesn't have to be here. In fact, it doesn't have to be in nature. It could be at home or in a city environment too. For example, when it's cold outside, instead of telling the child to put on the jacket before going out the door, allow her to think. How do I feel? Is my body cold? Do I want to do something about it? What can I do? How about putting on a jacket? Now the child will put on the jacket not because you told her to, but from her own self-motivation. If instead she says, I'll just run around to warm up my body, allow her to try out this rather creative solution. If she gets warm, the problem is solved. At some point, she'll figure out, especially when there aren't places to run around in, that putting on a jacket may be an easier, more practical way to solve the problem. Self-development. Or when you're at a park, instead of telling the child, let's go to the swings or let's go to the sandbox, wait and see what the child wants to do. Allow the child to just take in the environment. There are the swings. There's the sandbox. Some kids my age are making something there. Why don't I go and say hello to them? Maybe we can make a big sand castle together. If you're at home and the child wants to draw, give her paper and pencils. But before you tell her, let's draw a princess, let's draw cars and trucks, wait and see what the child wants to do. Maybe she just wants to see how a pencil feels on paper. Maybe she would want to copy out some letters or draw cars and trucks after all. But let the child come up with their own ideas. The desire, I want to draw this on their own. Allow them to get used to creating their own fun, making themselves happy. And imagine, if the children can make themselves happy now, and they continue making themselves happy in the future, the world will be full of happiness. Do you remember the girl from the very beginning of this talk? The girl who kept asking, what should I do? It's now been 1.5 years since. Recently, when she came to the field, she went straight to the trees. She hung vines in between the branches and strung different colored leaves and shiny stones from them. And with the trees all nicely decorated, she went up to her friends and staff, and with a big smile, she said, "This is my palace. Let's have a tea party. I will cook you some delicious treats with the flowers." Thank you.